I was talking to an architect, and he didn't seem as passionate as I was about architecture, but he worked for more of a bureaucratic system where he would be making and designing buildings that bureaucracy would be building. So he's probably working for a corporation. But the passion, I guess you could say, was potentially, or could have been, or was drained out of him by working for such a corporation which didn't respect the transcendent to be built into society, and instead only be interested in material gain or money. But like the Burj Khalifa example, because the Burj Khalifa is not sustainable and it's not transcendent. It doesn't aim towards a transcendent function like spirituality or religion or a set of values. Instead, it only goes towards the value of money, which is baseless. Money is baseless. Money doesn't exist most of the time. This is something people don't understand. People don't really understand what money is. People don't understand what money is, how it functions, what the Federal Reserve is, how these things are propagated and recycled in our societies. Fiat currencies don't exist. The American dollar is not backed by gold anymore, and it hasn't been for a very long time. It's a debt collecting process whereby the American dollar is decreasing, and in its value decreasing so much to an extent where it will simply fold, and the new world order of currency will be attained by that point, in which can be decided at any time, to be honest. And this is what we're talking about in the program that I'm running when it comes to financial freedom, developing assets, all of this stuff, and coaches that are involved in it and all that. So link in the description if you're interested in checking that out. But anyways, it's like people don't understand how money works, and therefore the pursuing money as the highest value and then a culture representing that is just foolish and stupid, because it's not going to sustain itself like the other places in which people visit to grasp a feeling of the transcendent within them. But anyway, like I was saying, brutalistic architecture, and this illusion in which modern architects have today is that, well, I'm not going to say all of them because I don't want to be, biased or anything, but the illusion and desanctifying of architecture by thinking that utility overruns and is the highest good, instead of thinking that the transcendent or spiritual is the highest good. Utility, therefore, is prioritized to build buildings that are disgusting, but at its best and most desired point occupies at least places for people to live in. So this is why you have complexes. You have these big buildings which are just fucking horrible to look at. They're just eyesores. I mean, there's one here. It's disgusting. It's absolutely fucking horrible. I hate looking at it. And it's like, and then you have other ones everywhere, and you're like, well, why are you complaining about this? We can't live in these beautiful buildings all the time. Or, well, we can, if the government were making the right decisions and not trying to bureaucratize everything and think of things in a very materialistic way which desanctifies the spiritual and the transcendent, then yeah, we would be able to do that. Because in our scientific world view, the idea of the spirit isn't seen as something which allows us to function as higher, better people. Instead, utility and materialism is seen as something that allows us to function and become better people. Only that. That's why we have utilitarianism being over-stimulated and the spiritual being under-stimulated. And therefore, we then get buildings which don't inspire you and they don't motivate you to be a better individual. So, and it's also down to urbanization as well. The whole function of the system, the whole function of the city changes when the values are changed. So if you look again at Dubai, there is no thought of community in Dubai when it comes to communication and communal development. For example, there's loads of highways, there's no walking space, there's no places in which there's very few places where community is expressed. A lot of highways, terrible urbanization, and this is obviously a fundamental problem, because when you go to somewhere like Europe, or you go, let's say, let's give another example, Switzerland, or if you go to maybe a less populated city of Switzerland, there are instead places you can see from like flying into these places in these countries that the overhead view of how the towns and cities are structured are much more healthier for human interaction to be achieved on a one-to-one level. And this is so that community and the interaction that comes from the beauty of interaction between community members is achieved. And when you block that off, you then start getting alienated situations where people don't live in harmony with each other. And this is a thing that is expressed when you see sacred geometry, or at least the use of it in societies, is that the idea of harmony is always achieved because there's a mirroring of shapes, a mirroring of geometry. This is the idea of sacred geometry, to create harmony. So when you symbolize harmony, you then create harmony, and then it expresses itself and extroverts itself out in waveforms to the other people that are in it. It's not just an image you're looking at, you're instead looking at an image, and then you're introjecting it back into yourself and saying, oh, this is how I'm to be, or this is the best way for me to be balanced, to be harmonic. And of course you don't have this in places where there is a build-up of alienated communities that are living in housing complexes or housing estates, where everything is cut up in a way where the idea of beauty is not central to the town or city in which you are in.